जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna and welcome back. Thank you for joining. Today we are discussing verse number 47 of chapter number 2 from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And in the previous section, Krishna is comparing and contrasting Karma Kanda and Karma Yoga. And Krishna gives an example in verse number 46 that as all purpose of small well can be served by a great reservoir of water, so similarly a person in knowledge or a person who performs Buddhi Yoga and who understands the purpose of performing Buddhi Yoga, then what happens is that person need not perform the Karmakanda rituals, because whatever the Karmakanda rituals or the Vedas suggest, that can be all attained through by performing the Buddhi Yoga. So now Krishna will focus on the characteristics of Karma Yoga. So whatever is the characteristics discussed in the Karma Yoga is also applicable in Bhakti Yoga. So this can apply to general transcendence, and it can also apply to the Bhakti Yoga. So this verse number 47 is discussing the art of work. So let's read the verse, the Sanskrit. This is one of the very important verse and very, very famous verse. This verse is one of the most widely quoted verse in Gita. But unfortunately, it is only 1/4 of the verse which is quoted. So let's read the verse. Karmaneva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karmafal heturbhu ma te sangostu akarmani. So the translation is, you have rights to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of the action. Never consider yourself the cause of the result of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So we'll go through the Sanskrit and try to understand the meaning of this verse. So there are 4 lines, and in these 4 lines, this first line is often quoted, Karmaneva adhikaraste. But rest of those lines are not quoted. So let's read or understand each of this line and go into details of what Srila Prabhupada is going to explain. So the first line is Karmaneva adhikaraste. We have rights to perform our duty, or we have rights to perform our karma. And the second line is Ma phaleshu kadachanam. So we don't have rights to the fruits, or not entitled to the fruits of the action. And the third part is Ma karma phal heturbhu. That it means that one should not think that oneself is the cause of the result of our activities. And the fourth part is Mate sangostu karmani. So never be attached to not doing your duty. So Srila Prabhupada talks about this half hen logic, that the front part of the hen is is bad because it's eating, but the back part of the hen is good because it is giving eggs. So this kind of arguments is not good. So if we only take half of the verse, then we do not get proper result. So if we only take those verses from Gita which is conclusive to us, which simply fits our point of view, and reject those which do not fit into our point of view, then we miss out on many things which is given in, or whatever is the offering which is given by Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita has to be taken as it is and complete. So we should not only just quote the first line, Karmaneva adhikaraste, but understand the verse in its totality. So in this verse, based on the subject Krishna is discussing, the flow of Gita, Krishna is saying that seek for the eternal, do not seek for temporary. Krishna describes in the beginning of chapter 2 that we are not this body, and we are soul. And the eternal soul should focus not on the temporary. So matter is temporary. So eternal soul should not focus on the temporary. And as far as matter is concerned, one should be dealing with the matter as like equanimity or equipoised. Then Krishna talks about the superiority of Buddhi Yoga over the temporary material gains. Right? Material gains are temporary and doesn't last long. So now Krishna is going to describe how one should live by which one can attain this eternal. So this verse is going to talk about how to work in this world and not get bound in this world, right? Because there's action and reaction. So that reactions actually bind us, right? So Krishna is going to explain that how one should work in Buddhi Yoga, is staying in this world. So first is Karmaneva Adhikaraste. One has rights to perform, or we have rights to perform our work. What does that mean? People mostly think that they have right to the result and they do not care about rights to the work or not. If for example, the student wants to do not want to study, but they want to get good marks. Therefore, they have all kinds of study guide and all those kind of question and answer, paper leakage, everything going on, because they don't want to study and they want to get marks. So in general, people think that they have rights to the result, and in least possible effort, if we can get the result, that will be great. Only few people think that I have right to work. But Bhagavad Gita, seems to say exactly the opposite. It's saying that you have rights to only work. You don't have rights to the result, which is the second line. Or do not get attached to the result. So this is exactly to what we think. And that's what Bhagavad Gita is saying. So the work performed in this world is not just for material result, but also for its spiritual result or eternal result. Why? Because we are soul. So when we do the work, then it should be done at the level of spirit, to get the spiritual result or to get eternal result. So how can work produce spiritual result? It depends on what kind of work it is. If one just does one's own activity based on the worldly standards, worldly standards means that is not based on the scriptures, then we continue at the ordinarily worldly level. But when one studies the scripture and understands that I am soul and I am not this body, and then I have to rise to the level of soul, then how will I rise to the level of soul? So to rise to the level of soul means we have to purify myself. What does purify myself means? Purifying myself means actually I am Sachidananda, but right now I am covered and I have forgotten my Sachidananda nature. So that is impurity. So then I have to do some activities that will purify myself, or at least not do those kind of activities which are grossly impure. So there are many kind of activities which are very subtle and very impure in nature, and that can pollute our consciousness. So this purification is required. So the work has to be done with some basic spiritual understanding of life. That enables us to grow in our inner understanding, in inner spiritual understanding, and help us to develop our knowledge. And when our knowledge is developed, we then start acting with detachment. And by that understanding, by that action, my understanding that I am not the body and I am the soul gradually increases. How that happens? Because detached action gradually leads to internal transformation. So the purpose of the action primarily is actually practicing of yoga, and it is not just acquisition of fruits or not just for the result. So the purpose of the action should be growth of wisdom, knowledge that we are not this body and we are eternal spirit soul. So when a person acts in knowledge, then that knowledge also deepens further. Now, when this work is done with, normally there is some objectives of that work or some desired result. So that is the next line, that ma phalesu kadachanam. Does that mean that we should not care about the result? So when the action is done, there will be result, but ma phalesu kadachanam means do not be attached to the result. So do not be attached to the result. Does it mean that I should not even care for the result? Because I should not be attached. So for example, if I am cooking, so do not be attached to the result. So just I'll put everything together, and do not worry how the salt is, how the sugar is, or how the masalas are, and just put on everything together. No, it doesn't mean like that. Actually, most of the time we work is for getting a good result, and that good result actually motivates us to perform the work. So it is not, in a sense, it is not wrong to have or to get positive result, but the idea over here is to do our duty, but not just for the result. When we do our duty, because we have an understanding that by doing our duty, through that we will get purification, and also we'll get knowledge, which is illumination. Right? So with that understanding, actually one should work. Purification means all the impurities subside because we are coming in contact with Krishna, and illumination means our spiritual understanding increases. So these are what the primarily we seek when we do our services. So when the work is done, it can be done in 3 different levels. The first level is the work is done in a way which most people work to get the result. For example, why do students study? To get more marks in exam. And the second level of doing work is we work because it will purify us. That's a higher level of understanding. I am doing some service because it's going to purify me. And the highest level of doing an activity is I do the work because I want to please the Supreme Lord Krishna. But over here, so far, Krishna has not talked about him. So, this point has not been discussed now, but that is the highest level of acting. So in the first case, I do the activity to get result. But if I don't get result, right? If I don't get result, then there are many thoughts that come in my mind that why did I do the activity? I simply wasted my time, etc., etc., and I don't feel good at all. In the second level, where I am trying to purify myself or my consciousness, when I am doing the activity to purify myself, what happens is, let's say I am studying Bhagavad Gita, and the goal is just to study Gita for purification. So this kind of consciousness actually frees us from the dependence on the result, because there is a lot of anxiety and insecurity when we are focused on the result. So this way, when we are just carrying out a work to purify ourselves, then if we are not depending on the result, then that anxiety level goes away. So this is what is being discussed over here by. And the third level of work is if we do the work just to please Krishna, then irrespective of the outcome of the result, if our endeavor was wholeheartedly to please Krishna, then we have achieved our motives. We don't have to worry about that. So when the work is primarily done at the level of Karma Yoga, it is for purification, and if the motive is for Bhakti Yoga, then it is pleasure of Krishna. Now the third line is Ma Karma Phala Hetur Bhur. So what does that mean? So here it says that do not think that you are the cause of the result of your activity. In other words, do not think that the result was produced only because of you. So how is that possible? We are not the cause of the result because we have worked to get the result. So we have performed the action, and based on our action we get the result. Then we generally think that the thing has the result is produced because of me. But Krishna over here indicates that do not think that you are the only cause of the results. So that is what Krishna meant over here. There are many other factors, and these factors are beyond human control, and they play a very important role. And our action also matters, but there are some things which is beyond our action that also matters too. So we call that thing which is beyond matter as like we give different names like destiny or fate or chance or luck, something like that. But there are factors that is beyond our control and that matters a lot, and because of which the result is obtained. And when we recognize how much they matter, how much these factors matter, then we get an impetus to find out about what they are. So ma karma phal heturbhi means do not consider yourself as the only cause of the result. Know that for sure that there are other factors involved. To the extent we are thinking ourselves as the cause of the result, to that extent what will happen? We are bound. We are bound by the reactions of that particular actions. So then there are two levels of detachment discussed over here. First level of detachment is do not just work for the sake of the result, that is ma karma phal heturbhu, right? And then do not while working do not think that I am the cause of the result, cause the result happened because of me. So when I identify myself as the cause of the result, then I identify myself with the specific skills or ability or talents that I have, and that identification is actually a bodily identification. For example, if I am a nice painter, so then I paint nicely, and then I identify myself as a painter. But these are all bodily identification. This is separate from my real identification as servant of Krishna. So by this inner consciousness, of that I am not the cause of the result of the activity, one can stay detached. So though they are acting in this material world, they are detached and they are not bound by the reaction of the actions, whatever actions they are doing. And then the final line, which is mate sangostu akarmani, means do not be attached to not doing your duty. So if a student is told to appear for the exam, but you won't get any certificate or you won't get any credits, then the student may think, then why should I not do it? Why should I do it actually? I'm not getting any certificates, I'm not getting a credit for my studies and all those stuff. But then Krishna over here says, do not be attached to inaction. Why Krishna is saying like this? So actually it is action which purifies us, right? And how action purifies us? So when action is done with the intention to please Krishna, then my consciousness is not obsessed with the temporary material results. And when we are inactive, then we are not engaging what Krishna has given to us, all the facilities that has been given to us by Krishna. So it is not artificially possible to directly think on constantly about Krishna. When we have to think about Krishna, then we have to think about Krishna by rendering service to him. So it is actually the service which purifies the soul. Purification also means that purification of heart, right? Purification of heart, or the tendency of this controller, proprietor and enjoyer. So normally somebody who has not studied scriptures, they think that the purpose of my existence is enjoyment in this world. I am this body, and enjoyment in this world is my purpose. So that's why, in order to enjoy it, you have to be a proprietor and you have to be a controller. So by engaging in service, we can gradually be purified by the consciousness that I am not the controller, I am not the proprietor, I am not the enjoyer. And that way, taking shelter of Krishna, when we are engaging in service, we'll see that sometimes, things do not work out. We want to do things, but it doesn't work out. But then we take shelter of Krishna and then things suddenly start working. So when this kind of thing experience happens while working, then we understand, okay, I am not the controller. Actually, Krishna is in charge. So we can only get that experience if we are engaging in doing something. If we are not engaging in doing something, then we will not get that experience. So the purification won't happen. So by engaging our body, mind and intelligence and action, that will purify us and gradually it will liberate us. So this is what is the discussion in verse number 47. And let's see what Srila Prabhupada has to explain in the purport. So this is a very interesting verse, and this talks about the art of work. So first Prabhupada talks about work or action. So there are three considerations here: prescribed duties, capricious work and inactions. So work can be divided into three parts. First is prescribed duties, that is called as karma. So prescribed duties are activities enjoined in terms of one's acquired modes of nature. So modes of nature has not been discussed yet, but we all have a certain nature, and based on that nature there are duties prescribed. So that is called, and when we perform those duties, that is called as karma. And capricious work or vikarma means, capricious work means actions which without the sanction of authorities. So some things which are not prescribed for us, and when we do that without the sanction of authority, without the reference of any scriptures, that is called as vikarma. And inaction, that is akarma. So inaction means not performing one's prescribed duties. So that is akarma. So akarma has different meanings. Like, karma also has 4 different level of understanding. So karma can mean activity in general. Karma can also means fruitive activities, means we desired some results. That is fruitive activities. That is also called as karma sometimes. And then karma can also mean reaction to an activities. I am suffering, for example, somebody may say, I am suffering my karma. And then karma can also mean the chain of action and reaction. So based on the context in which it is used, it has got different meanings. So similarly, akarma over here means inaction, means somebody is not doing any actions or not performing your prescribed duties. That is akarma. But in another context, akarma has a very higher meaning, and that we will discuss in the later chapter. And that meaning is, even though you are performing an action, there is no reaction to your action. So that is also called as akarma. So in this diagram we can see that there are 3 types of actions, which is, or work can be divided into 3 parts. One is prescribed duties, karma, and then vikarma and akarma. Now further Prabhupada says, attachment to the results causes bondage. So when we are performing action, let's read. The Lord advised Arjuna that not to be inactive, but that he performs his prescribed duties without being attached to the result. So that's what Krishna is telling Arjuna, that don't say that I don't want to fight, because that is also going to cause you bondage. One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. So when you are attached to the fruits or the results, what happens? It actually it binds you. It is inauspicious that it binds you, because you are attached to the result means you are also the cause of the actions, and therefore you have to either enjoy or suffer the results of the actions. Thus he is the enjoyer or the sufferer of the result of the actions. So you perform an action but do not be attached to the results of the action. Okay, so this is, you have to perform your duty. That's the first line. Karmaneva adhikaraste. Your adhikar is, their rights is to only perform your actions. You should not be attached to the result of the actions. That's what, because when you are attached to the result of the action, it is causing bondage. Means whatever is the reaction of that particular action, then you will have to suffer that reaction. For example, Arjuna also thought that, in the first chapter he's saying that he is going to kill his relatives because he was considering himself to be the cause of the actions. So the war was going to happen and Arjuna was going to participate in the war, and because he was going to participate and fight in the war, he was going to kill his relatives. And when he killed his relative, he was thinking that he is going to kill. And because he is going to kill, because he was the cause of the result of the action, then he will have to suffer or enjoy. So that's why Arjuna was saying that I will have to suffer, and that's why I don't want to fight. But Krishna totally changed Arjuna's concept by describing the art of work, where you just perform your duty and do not be attached to the result. By doing that way, you can perform your duty as well as you will not get any sinful reactions while performing your duties. So that's what Prabhupada is explaining over here. Now, 3 categories of karma. So this karma has further 3 categories or 3 types of karma. As far as prescribed duties are concerned, they can be fitted into 3 subdivisions, namely routine work, which is nitya karma, means routinely when we are performing any action, that is called as nitya karma, do it daily, that is nitya karma. Emergency work, that is apat karma, apatkal karma. Whenever you do some actions which are not your prescribed duties, is some other person's duty, but that other person is absent, that's why you are doing the duty. And desired activities, which is kamya karma. So you desire something and then you perform that action, that is kamya karma. So routine work performed as obligation in terms of scriptural injunctions without desire for fruit result is action in the mode of goodness. So this routine work, this is without any obligation, without any desire for the fruit of the result, that is action in the mode of goodness. And when you do this kind of action, there is no sinful reaction, that you do not incur any sinful reaction to this kind of action. Whereas vikarma and akarma are both sinful. In this case, akarma is inaction, so that is also sinful. How prescribed duty should be done? Work with result becomes the cause of the bondage. So when you are working and you are thinking of enjoying the result, then that becomes the cause of the bondage. Therefore, such work is not auspicious. Everyone has his proprietary rights in regards to prescribed duties, but should act without attachment to the result. Such disinterested obligatory duties doubtlessly leads one to the path of liberation. So therefore, Krishna is over here saying karmaneva adhikaraste, means when you are performing your prescribed duties, do not be attached to the fruits of the result, because that's a cause of bondage that's going to bind you. So karma creates bondage when it is done with attachment, right? So that is karma that is creating bondage. Next is the conclusion. So Prabhupada says, Arjuna was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. So this is what was Krishna's advice. His non-participation means akarma over here, means inaction in the battle is another side of attachment. Such attachment never leads to one in the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is a cause of bondage. Inaction is sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna. So this is what we have discussed in details, and Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight just as a matter of duty without thinking about the results, or without having attachment for the result, and that is not sinful. He's not going to be bound by that. So now we are going to see that how from karma it becomes karma yoga, and from karma yoga to bhakti yoga. How this, understanding these terms, we'll just quickly go over it. So there is a diagram here which will explain us this process. So these are all discussed in the later chapter of Bhagavad Gita, but I'm just bringing it over here to give us this idea very clear, because these terms will be used again and again, and it is good to have this particular understanding. So work or action, our activity is called as karma. So karma becomes karma yoga. When karma becomes karma yoga? When the karma or action is done when somebody is not attached to the fruits of the actions, right? So but the fruit of the action is actually binding. So when somebody works, but they work on the basis of detached from the fruits of the action, so then that particular action is called as karma yoga. Now what is the knowledge? So the detachment is coming from knowledge, and the knowledge is that we are not this body, we are soul. So when somebody is acting on the platform of this knowledge, they are detached from the fruits, so then that kind of action becomes karma yoga. That karma becomes karma yoga. But if somebody is attached to the fruit of the work, the result is they remain in the cycle of birth and death, right? So this is the result of that. So this is karma yoga. And then while working in karma yoga with detachment, they have the knowledge of the soul, and they gradually know about the Lord. They get knowledge about the Lord. How do they get knowledge of the soul? They got knowledge of the soul from Bhagavad Gita. So similarly, in the later chapter, they will understand, or they will get the knowledge of the Lord from Bhagavad Gita. And when they get the knowledge of the Lord from Bhagavad Gita, then gradually they will surrender, or they will have knowledge that they have to surrender to the Lord. Because in 18th chapter, 66th verse, Krishna is saying that Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. So they get that understanding while studying Bhagavad Gita. Then what happens after studying? Then gradually one decides, okay, I should surrender to the Lord. And when they decide to surrender to the Lord, gradually they get situated in bhakti, the process of bhakti. How that happens? So they do the same work. The action is there. But then karma yoga becomes bhakti yoga when the results are actually offered with love to Krishna. So any action when done to please Krishna, or the result of that action is done for the pleasure of Krishna, then that is actually bhakti yoga. So that knowledge is coming through this particular process. So this is the whole thing about the art of working. Art of working is nothing but you work, but you are not attached to the fruit of the work, and you do not think yourself that the fruit of the work is coming, or the result of the work is because of me. Because we have an understanding that there are other factors which help us in bringing out the results, right? And then finally we offer that result, whatever result comes, to Krishna. That is actually bhakti yoga. So from karma to karma yoga to bhakti yoga. So these are the gradual steps. This is called as yoga ladder, and we'll discuss about that in details in future chapters too. So whatever has been discussed in the purport is put in the presentation format for you to study. So with this, we'll stop here and continue discussing verse number 48 in the next session, where Krishna is going to describe what is the actual way of doing work. सो थैंक यू सो मच। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि बोल।